Let's imagine for a second that you're an architect, but you're not designing some building of glass and steel. You're designing your life. Now, to build anything that's actually going to last, you have to respect the laws of the terrain, the physics of the world. Today, we're digging into those laws, the axioms of reality alignment. Think of it as a blueprint for building a life that has real, lasting impact.
So let's just kick things off with a pretty provocative question. What if reality just doesn't care what you think at all? What if it has zero interest in negotiating with your desires, your beliefs, or even your best intentions? Now, this isn't about being pessimistic. It's actually the most important first step. It's about making sure we build on solid ground, not on shifting sand.
So our first job as architects is to survey the land, and that brings us to our first section, defining the playing field. Before we can even think about building, we have to understand the unchangeable, non-negotiable rules of the game.
And the biggest rule of all is reality itself. So what is reality in this system? Well, it's simply what persists. It's what's left over after our wishes, our feelings, and our opinions are all stripped away. It's the objective field that remains. Honestly, it's like gravity. It doesn't matter if you believe in it, it's still going to affect you.
So what happens when we ignore that reality? When we try to build something that goes against the grain? Well, the consequence is stark, and the axiom is blunt. Misalignment is filtered by death. Now, this doesn't just mean physical death, okay? Think of it more like a universal filter. Any idea, any company, any strategy that isn't lined up with how things actually work, it just breaks, it fails, it gets filtered out.
Okay, so how do you even know if you're aligned? How do you get feedback? The answer is brutally simple. Continuance is the only proof of relevance. The ultimate test of your life's design isn't about how good your intentions were or how you felt about it. It's about whether it persists. Does it last? That is the only real objective feedback reality is ever going to give. All right, we understand the foundation. We get the rules. So, what are we building for? That brings us right into section 2, the only score that matters. This is all about drafting the blueprint for your legacy.
This framework defines legacy in a really specific, almost engineering-like way. This isn't about getting a statue made of you. Legacy, in this context, is the only true measure of success and is defined as what remains functional, stable, and useful to other people without you. It's the family, the system, the knowledge that continues to provide value long after you're out of the picture.
And this brings up a critical distinction. See, on the left, you've got the internal score. This is the one we usually focus on, right? Our feelings, our sense of fulfillment, our intentions. But reality doesn't grade on that curve. Reality only looks at the external score on the right. What was your actual contribution? Did it create continuity? Did it add stability to the world?
So what even counts as a valid contribution? It's not just about adding something new for the sake of it. A real contribution strengthens the whole structure. It has to increase stability for other people while also allowing for healthy growth. And these last two are huge. It has to avoid making people dependent on you, and it can't come at the cost of tearing down other structures that are already working.
Okay, so we've got the foundation, that's reality. And we've got the blueprint, that's legacy. But who's the one doing the work? Section 3 is all about that. It's about building your player character, or to stick with our metaphor, shaping the architect themselves. According to this framework, a stable life follows a kind of mandatory order of operations. You see it here in this life arc. You have to master each level before you can securely move to the next. You start with just basic survival. Then you learn maintenance and self-regulation. From that stable base, you can build healthy relational function and then contribute to a community and family. It's only after all that is solid that you can really reach for true innovation and consciousness. If you try to skip steps, it's like building the penthouse of a skyscraper on a cracked foundation. The whole thing is just doomed to be unstable.
So how should you, the architect, define yourself? This is a really powerful choice. Is your identity a static noun, a fixed thing like a label, doctor, artist, parent? Or is your identity a dynamic verb, the ongoing action of aligning with reality? This framework argues that your true identity isn't a title you achieve, it's what you are consistently doing.
And here's the thing, you don't build this active verb-based identity all on your own. This quote is key. It says, self-guidance without external virtuosity models is structurally weak. which is a fancy way of saying you can't just invent what it means to be competent from scratch. You have to look at models, real people who have already demonstrated success, people who have built things that actually work and last in the real world.
All right, this all sounds great in theory, but how do you actually put it into practice? That brings us to our final section, your daily alignment toolkit. These are the practical things you can do every single day to make sure your structure stays sound. First, we have to totally reframe how we think about our emotions. They aren't the problem. Far from it. They're the dashboard warning light. That feeling of anxiety or frustration or unease, it's not your enemy. It's just data. It's a signal telling you, hey, you've drifted a little out of alignment here. The goal isn't to shut off the light. It's to look under the hood and see what structural problem it's pointing to.
So when that warning light flashes, where do you focus your energy? You have to understand your control boundary. You only control your personal structure, your actions, your responses, your choices. You don't control other people or the world at large. Your job isn't to command everything into place. Your role is to find coherence. It's about responding to what the world presents to you with stability, not trying to force it into a shape it doesn't want to take.
So what does this look like day to day? Here's a simple but incredibly powerful routine. In the morning, you do a structural review. You set your intention and orientation for the day before all the noise of the world rushes in. Then, throughout the daytime, you're doing signal monitoring, just paying attention to those emotional warning lights. And finally, in the evening, you do a non-judgmental audit. You review the day's signals, you learn from them, and this is key, you decouple your core identity from the wins and losses of that one particular day.
And that brings us right back to the beginning. This whole framework is about becoming a conscious, deliberate architect of your life. So I'll leave you with the question on the screen. Your legacy is the structure you leave behind. What are you building today?